Welcome to another episode of the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Good to have everybody back again. We are live with episode 31. We're coming to you live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And all of these platforms will have replays shortly after the live broadcast ends. And then we will push this episode up to the audio networks as well, so you can listen to it at your heart's content. You're going to learn some good things today. You really are. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Ramin. I'm one of the managing partners at SKU Agency. Good to have everybody here again. Let's get this thing started. This is just the beginning. All right. Well, we have wine on the mind again. Although no wine here sitting next to me. This time we are focusing on the all-important channel of the tasting room, right? The tasting room channel is so important to wineries, so important. And did you know, and this is actually a very interesting fact, I learned this myself for the first time. I love to go back in history and figure out things. Did you know that when Prohibition ended in the 1930s, Beringer Vineyards started wine tours and tastings as a promotional effort to bring back customers, right? They needed to get those customers back in. In the decades that followed, wineries opened tasting rooms so consumers could sample. I mean, think about it. You go to Costco, right? You get to sample the goods there, but that's what wineries were looking at. Back then, tastings were generally free, which is awesome. That is not the case anymore. And success was measured by how many people you could get through the door, not by the wine sales. Imagine that. Very different now. Very different. Wineries now are very cognizant that the tasting room is in a very pivotal channel for them. It's really important. This is the place where customers can find out about the winery, taste the wine, right? Get acquainted with the brand, become a lifelong customer. I'm sure that's what wineries are all hoping. So we're excited to dig into this topic, all right, and find out how wine consumers make tasting room decisions. So to do this, we've asked a very important and influential person in the wine space to come on. Her name is Karen Oliver. She is the CEO of the DTC Doctor, and Karen has years and years of experience helping wineries of all sizes plan and execute a DTC strategy geared to both generate sales and help them build their brand. So without any further ado, please welcome Karen to the E-commerce Revolution podcast. Karen, wonderful to have you here.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So Karen and I met at the DTC Wine Symposium. I was sitting there eating my breakfast, just kind of soaking it all in. And she came by and she said, "Is this seat taken?" And I said, "Absolutely. Please sit down." And we just struck up a conversation. Turns out we had a lot in common, places we lived, and we hit it off, and then circled back and connected at a couple other points at the show. And I think we will all say that was a very good show. We learned a lot there. I think it was really important. But tell us where you're calling in from today.
I am calling in from Los Angeles, where I live. Used to live up in the North Bay, where you did.
Yes. And it's very cold there. I know we're going to date ourselves here on this. I know that there's a fascinating storm coming through. So probably pretty cold outside.
Yeah, it's getting down into freezing temperatures.
Oh, wow.
Typically, this time of year, it'd be much warmer.
Yes.
And then if you look out, you can see snow out on the hills, which is extraordinary. And they're talking about potentially having snow on the Hollywood sign, which
wow. Oh, that's going to make for phenomenal photo op, right? I mean, that's going to be that's going to be amazing. Well, before we get started, take a few minutes and just tell the audience about yourself and, your experience in the wine industry, and ultimately, what led you to where you are right now.
So my husband and I run Angel Smith, and which is a digital advertising and web agency. We primarily just really focus on web optimization, which essentially is making your website perform a lot better. We met in Los Angeles through our personal trainer, a total LA story. And then we decided to move up to Northern California. I had been working with a winery up there, and I had, about a dozen clients or so up in Northern
Mhm.
California. So we decided to kind of flip it around. We needed a break from Los Angeles.
Mhm.
We had a meeting in Napa, and we were like, the meeting ended with like wine, and we're sitting out overlooking the valley. And we
Uh,
drove back and we were like, "Oh, this is awesome." Like, having a meeting in wine country does not suck. And so
no.
that kinda started our journey in wine.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And I have a similar story with my wife as well. And it is very easy to fall in love with wine country. It is, picturesque. You're sitting there with a wonderful glass of wine. And as you said, looking out and seeing, I mean, it's really those who have never experienced it when they do for the first time. Exactly what you experienced. You get sucked right in and you
Absolutely.
want to do it over and over again. That's where I want to have all my meetings, right? Yeah. Well, you mentioned your husband, and you guys are partners in Angel Smith, and you guys recently published a really extensive study on how consumers ultimately make tasting room choices, and it was fascinating. I mean, I was, obviously being very interested in the space, as our agency is. I found everything in that report to be really, really interesting. If you could, let's just like learn a little bit about the report and how many people did you guys survey?
So we surveyed more than 1,200 affluent Americans, and these were all folks who self-described as wine aficionados.
Okay.
Um, so, when they come into the survey, we immediately ask them if they've been to a winery, if they drink wine. If that answer
Mhm.
was no, we kick them out, which, makes it a lot more challenging to find your
Sure.
people, right?
Right.
But we really wanted to understand more about what they're thinking, the steps that they
Right.
take. There was a lot of misinformation, I think, from wineries about how consumers make choices.
Hmm.
And you just never know until you ask them.
Right, right.
And, being fairly, we've been in wine now like 12, uh, I'll admit to 10 years, probably about 15 years.
It's a
But,
long time.
you know, you need to know how they're moving through what we call this ecosystem,
Sure.
because you need to be able to intercept and influence them along their path to purchase.
Mhm.
And if we don't know, then we're just kind of, we've got blinders on, and we're not confidently delivering the right message at the right time.
Right,
And
right.
so,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
what made you guys decide to do this report? Was it, one of the wineries commission it? Did they ask you about it? Or a lot of people were asking, and you decided we're gonna do it on our own and, keep it, unbiased?
Our job is to always provide clarity and confidence in
Mhm.
marketing decisions. And the only way that you can do that is really understand consumer behavior.
Right.
And everybody wants to do a better job, right?
Sure.
So we are information junkies. We pour through data. We're always
Right.
asking that data more questions. And we wanted to be able just to do a better job. So we knew
Wow.
we had to know. And that the tasting room, as you were saying in your intro,
Mhm.
is so critically important. It is, if you think about CPG, consumer packaged goods, it
Right.
is that trial. And a lot of wineries think about the tasting room
Mhm.
as like they've come in, now that's their customer. And we're like, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. That's just the trial.
Right.
So that, getting people into that tasting room has a dramatic impact on their e-com revenue downstream. So
Right.
when, right now what we're seeing is, and what we learned at the DTC conference is that traffic is either flat or declining into tasting
Hmm.
rooms, and that is a
Yeah.
critical big red flag. Um, And
Hmm.
so, how are we going to get them in? When they land on our website, how are we going to make them stick?
Yeah, yeah, that's very it's interesting. I mean, yeah, it is like essentially in some way the beginning, right? I mean, maybe the website, is there first, they're looking at, but it's that physical connection that they're getting when they walk in. It's that seeing the tasting room manager or whoever it is who's behind the counter or getting that experience. It begins the journey. Really the beginning of everything in there. And as I was reading a report, thinking back to the first time I went into we moved up to Sonoma County, walking into a tasting room for the first time. I believe it was St. Francis on Highway 29. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I just I loved the experience. I loved, the people, the buzz, the noise. Obviously the wine was very good as well. And then, venturing out into the rest of the winery and, listening to music or, getting the rest of the experience and then becoming connected with that brand. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into the findings a little bit because this is really where I had lots of aha moments in this, and really pulled a lot. And actually, just before we do, I'm curious: is this going to be an annual report? Are you guys going to go back each year and kind of revisit this and continue to, check the data?
There have been so many consumer changes,
Hmm.
behavioral changes. Um, in the big PDF that we have of
Hmm.
this, I do mention that we should redo it every 6 months.
Okay.
I know I'm not gonna get around to it every 6 months.
Yeah.
But I would definitely like to, do it again and do it soon because this
Yeah.
is a volatile time right now, and I think there probably are some changes.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's for sure. Well, that's good. Good to know. All right. Well, let's dig into those findings a little bit. The first question that came to mind was, on average, how many wineries do consumers visit? When they book a trip, or on each of their various trips that they're going on, because generally they're probably not going to one. How many do they generally go to?
So about 60%
Hmm.
go to 2 to 4 wineries on each visit.
Wow.
What we believe is happening is that they choose what we're calling a destination winery.
Okay.
So, you went to St. Francis and
Hmm.
then you kind of drove around and probably backfilled your trip with
Hmm.
some other wineries. And
Yes.
this is what we believe is happening. They choose a winery and then they go to that winery and then they drive around, see other things, and then
Right.
go to those.
Right, right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. All right. So if it's 2 to 4 and there's a destination, I kind of think of it in some ways like, the mall. There was always, in the mall, there's the anchor, right? It's kind of like this is your anchor
Exactly.
winery, right? That you're going to go to, and then you're going to offshoot to a bunch of other ones out there. So maybe the group meets there at the main winery. Then they, all right, let's go see the one across the street, or, the one that's not too far away. So we don't have to drive, or we can Uber there. So, because
Right.
we've already had a couple of glasses. So based on that, now how are consumers ultimately learning about winery tasting experiences? What's the path that leads them to making that decision?
So what we did with this is we know like word of mouth is huge
Hmm.
across all verticals. And
Right.
so we knew word of mouth is going to be number one. So we just took it out as an option out of the survey.
Hmm. Okay.
So when wineries are thinking about marketing, really don't dismiss word of mouth. And that
Okay.
can come from, a great experience, emailing people, asking for
Mhm.
referrals, etc.
Okay.
So, in this survey, what we found is that, and not unsurprisingly,
Hmm.
is that people really started discovering new wineries and new tasting experiences on social, and
Oh.
social media is a big, discovery network.
Hmm.
So it that seemed fairly obvious, I guess.
Right. Right.
Um, but the other things that we saw it are that, consumers will discover something,
Mhm.
and then they want to think about their choices. They want to they put them into that consideration set, and
Right.
they need to validate those in the set. And so in order
Yes.
to validate them, they are going to the winery's website, they're going to consumer review sites,
Mhm.
they're taking a look at that, at
Okay.
all of those. So, if you there are a lot of wineries who hate Yelp. Um, and I say, you can do I hate math too, but I knew I
Right.
had to get a good grade in math in order to get into the UCLA.
That's
So
right.
I sucked it up and I
Uh-huh.
got a good grade,
Yeah,
moderately.
alright. So
Um,
so, alright, that validation is interesting. I mean, that's, plays along, just in the world of e-commerce. We see a product, someplace where we then maybe go take a look and try to get information on social about the company that's selling that product. We go through this validation process. So very interesting that it isn't just social media that is, sealing the deal, I guess, about getting them to that tasting room or to the winery experience, or then maybe leading at that set point going on to the website. And so that becomes very important. The website becomes a really, really important factor in this process. What are you seeing out there? We see a lot of winery websites, but I'm sure you see even more. What are you seeing that wineries are doing different? Some innovation that's happening in terms of almost trying to bring that experience into the digital format.
so I think trying to bring that winery experience into the digital format
Mhm.
is really, really challenging.
Yeah.
It's it's obviously never going to be the same. I think the things that are really useful are, include video. Video is
Mhm.
great to kind of give you a little bit more of that immersive feel. One of the wineries basically did a walkthrough, kind of like a point of
Oh,
view
interesting.
video through.
Mm.
Um, the other thing, like if you don't have a photo of your front door,
Right.
it's I have this crazy story. We were working with a large fitness franchise,
Mhm.
and we were doing some advertising for them, and I'm like, I have to have a photo of the front door. And they're like, "Oh
Nice.
God," they're, "No, no, 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 no." I'm like,
Uh,
"Just please, I'm begging you, just let me test it."
oh, nice.
So I went out and took a photo, not a great photo. We used that, and their conversions went way up.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it's really cool. So consumers want to know, they want to be reassured, they want to know
Sure.
where they're going.
Right.
Um, the other thing, and you're showing, an empty room on the
Right.
screen, which
Yeah.
despise. Like nobody wants to eat in an empty restaurant, right? So
Right.
don't ever show empty
Yes.
rooms in your
Yes. They should show people in there, right? That winery website should have people mingling, having
it's
fun, right?
packed. They're having fun. It's awesome. This is the
Yeah.
place to be because there are so many other people there. And if you think about it, that's just visual social proof.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
consumers are
absolutely.
always looking for that.
Yeah, yeah, like you set up a home. If you're gonna want to sell your house, you don't leave it empty and take pictures of it. You actually put furniture in it. You may not put the people in there because nobody wants to, know that anybody actually lived there, but very different in the wine space. And
Yeah.
that would be, I guess, yeah, critique number one. If you're shooting your tasting room, as beautiful as it may be, show some people, show them having a
And
good time.
yeah, and real people, not I mean,
Yes.
obviously not they don't have to be real
Right.
consumers, but
Right.
one of our wineries brought in a bunch of their, members and
Mhm.
did a shoot with them, and the members thought it was, like, the most fun thing ever. They got to be in the shoot,
Oh, nice.
um, and they loved it. So it was super impactful for
Yeah.
everybody.
No, I love that. And to speak to the reviews, and I love I will admit that that's my validation. I go for reviews, and I try to step outside of the plat. If I went to the website first, um, I want to, and if they have reviews there, I want to go and check, a third party. I want to go check, generally Google is where I go. Are you seeing that? I mean, you mentioned that Yelp is not a favorite of wineries, but, making sure and do you advise them to really work on getting those Google reviews up for their wineries? That's something that, you encourage wineries to push on?
Absolutely. So,
Hmm.
like you, most consumers need some kind of validation and social proof in
Hmm.
order to take their credit card out of their wallet, right?
Right. Right.
So, having the things that can give a winery the veto vote
Hmm.
are bad reviews,
Right.
not enough reviews.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's not that it's just not enough reviews. They have to be good, obviously,
Hmm.
but you wanna have more than your competitors.
Right. Right.
So, a lot of wineries who I think are doing this well are using email to,
Hmm.
after people come in, to reach back out to those folks in a timely way and ask them for a review.
Okay.
And you should absolutely 100% be doing that.
Okay.
Um, the other piece about reviews, if, many consumers visit Yelp to validate their purchase or their visit. And then also, it is being used now as a search engine to
Hmm.
find tasting room experiences. So if you're not on there and you're not actively working at it, you're going to lose out to your competitors, and there's no reason for that.
Right. Right. Yeah. This is your opportunity, I mean, they should ask for the review, right? If there's an opportunity, if somebody had a good
Absolutely.
experience, just ask for it. I mean, the worst they're going to say is no.
And we worked with a big Fortune 500 automotive retailer,
Mhm.
and what we did is that we would ask for reviews during that consumer's, what we called, their happiest moment. So they were getting their car, it was
Right.
beautiful, it was all clean and shiny, and they're so proud of
Yes.
themselves. They wanna show mom and everybody else, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So make it easy for them in that moment to post, to
Hmm.
review. It
To
is
social.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
social. It's
Yeah.
amazing to me that so many wineries, their Wi-Fi in their tasting room is so bad that you can't connect in that moment.
Wow, that is very I would feel yes, and I think what we're saying here is after they've maybe had a glass of wine, and they're enjoying the experience, that's the best time to ask for that review. Maybe it's even just a tent card or something, classy and nice, on a table or nearby or something on the menu, where they can scan the QR code and just jump right over, right? And take care of it because yeah, you don't want to ask for it uh 2, 3 hours after they've left. They're pretty much at that point, moved on with their day, right?
They're still pretty happy, but yeah, the
Yeah.
moment you can get it, if you take a look at like Paradise Ridge and some
Mm,
of their social,
yeah.
it's that huge love sign, right? And it's
Oh, yes.
everywhere on social, and everybody goes to that sign to take a photo and post
Yes.
it. And it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So they should have those iconic moments where they can capture that and then yeah, post it out there and say something wonderful. And then also, if they can, do a review because that's going to help. I mean, that's going to help me in my decision making. If I'm looking at 3 or 4 wineries to go to, and maybe I'm looking for that anchor or that destination one. Yeah, I'm going to go review. I want to know what other people did. And my business partner and I were talking about that prior to putting this all together. Like, well, how do you do it when you lived in Santa Rosa? How did you look it up? And Google search, look at reviews, look at website, look at social, make some decisions, and then go. And you want to see those beautiful pictures too. Yeah,
You wanna see people having fun. You wanna see
yeah,
people like you having fun, you
right,
know?
right, exactly, exactly.
So it's
I love it. Well, just on average, how much time, thinking about what goes into making a decision, and especially if you're planning, if you're just going for the day, maybe it's quick, but if you're trying to plan things out and you've got a group of people, just on average, how much time do consumers spend doing this kind of research to find the right tasting room or the winery experience?
So they don't spend much time.
Hmm.
The majority spend less than an hour
Wow.
looking
Okay.
for their wine experiences.
Hmm.
And what we're finding now is that a lot of people are coming in from those drive markets more and more.
Okay.
Air travel is super expensive.
Hmm.
Hotels in Napa have gotten crazy expensive.
Sure.
So, you don't have a lot of time to
Hmm.
capture them.
Okay.
So you need to make sure that all of your ducks are in a row when
Right.
people land on your website. Most consumers are accessing websites via mobile. So most of our
Right.
clients, more than 70, 80%
Hmm.
of traffic originates from mobile. If they can't easily make a reservation with one click, click to call, one
Hmm.
click directions, you're going to lose them.
Wow.
And
That's
consumers, yeah,
yeah.
it's really tough. You've gotta be super, super competitive. And this year in particular, we learned
Mhm.
at the DTC Wine Symposium, and it was one of the trends that I mentioned in an article, at the end of last year, is that 2023 is gonna be all about loyalty and retention. So the people who do land on your site, we know there are fewer people coming in. We have
Mhm.
to do a much, much better job at converting them and making it as seamless and fast and easy for them as possible.
Well, you heard it here, loyalty and retention. I mean, those are important factors. I think most wineries saw this amazing e-commerce ride during the pandemic. Then things returned, people coming back in, but things are normalizing and businesses normalizing. And, in many ways, Karen, we look at this and this is, just in the world of e-commerce, right? If you're going to build you're building a business and you're building a long-term relationship, you have to retain, you have to keep people coming back. And loyalty is a very important factor in there. I mean, I would like to know that if I continue to spend money, that I'm going to also be rewarded for that experience as well. Maybe free tastings, maybe free lunch, or discounts on lunch at the winery or something like that. I'm going to be a lifelong customer if that happens.
I think people are really, we heard a little bit about the modern luxury marketing
Hmm.
consumer, and people really want service.
Right.
They want to feel like they're not just a number to you. They
Yeah.
want some engagement, they want service. What does that look like this year?
Hmm.
Maybe it's making reservations for them at an amazing restaurant that maybe they can't get a reservation at.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work in entertainment, and entertainment is all about service, right? It's
Right.
all about having the double secret number for the super cool restaurant and making sure that your
Right.
clients get the,
Yeah.
the best table so everybody sees them right when they walk in.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, so much is changing around us, and I was also reading the Silicon Valley Bank report that they put out, and just the overall concept, of the tasting room. It's going through a transformation. That traditional walking up, to the bar, and getting, that's still there in many, but a lot of wineries are starting to focus more on the experience. Because consumers are looking for experiences, right? I mean, you see it like in the world of Airbnb. They're not just looking to rent a house, they're looking to rent an experience, and try that. And wonderful if your home is also has an experience and is in wine country, because then they're also looking to that winery. Based on your findings, how does the experience fit into it, whether it's a lunch or I mean, just talk about that just from that standpoint, if you wouldn't mind.
So experiences were critical
Hmm.
to consumers making, you know, choosing that tasting room.
Hmm.
And I think what we see, and what that really means is they're looking for something a little bit different. They want a wine and food pairing. They want music. One of the biggest search terms that we see is wine country events,
Hmm.
events in Napa, events in Paso. So if you can take advantage of that, then definitely, that's what consumers are looking for. I think as an industry, we frequently make that we think we have this cool, really interesting product because we've worked really hard to make it, right?
Right.
And we know the differences,
Hmm.
and a lot of the really serious wine aficionados know the difference. But your bread and butter is gonna be those folks who are coming out. They are just really interested in having an entertaining experience. The
Hmm.
wine is secondary, and to them, the wine is a parody product, not unlike mustard. You
Right.
know?
Right.
It's all made with grapes and water and some other stuff, and it's put in a barrel, you know?
Yeah.
So, for for the majority of your consumer, they're not just looking at wine experiences, but they're also comparing that to other types of things. Maybe there's a concert in the park that weekend.
Mhm.
So it's all kinds of entertainment that you are competing with.
Yeah, yeah, and also a great place. I mean, we used to joke about this, and that we used to look for wineries that would allow kids to run around,
Yeah,
like places for kids, and that's an experience in and of itself because that's a moment for the parents to, decompress, listen to some music. Maybe kids can go play around, and a lot of wineries, definitely the ones we visited in Sonoma, that they were getting smart about that. They're realizing, hey, this just in and of itself is a great experience. Maybe we have a little popsicle, somebody selling popsicles. We've got music. We've got wine that they can get in there. We'll deliver to the table a little bit of food and let those kids run, have a good time out
yeah.
there.
There's I can't remember which winery it is, but one of them has a grape tasting for kids,
Oh, wow. That is awesome.
which I think is so brilliant.
Yes.
And I know my 11-year-old would love that. He would just feel
Yes.
like so empowered by that.
Yeah, no, and St. Francis again. And by the way, just a correction, not Highway 29, 12. It's
Okay.
been a while. It's been a couple of years since I've been in Sonoma, but they had it dialed in with the kids. They knew exactly what to do, and it's just a great, great experience. So, I appreciate. So, just in terms of these experiences, what are some of the more favored, or maybe ones that you've actually experienced yourself or heard of that are just like they stand out as great experiences?
So, 2 that come to mind because I love music,
Mhm.
Rodney Strong and
Mm,
Gunlock Bunshoe,
mm.
both completely different music styles, but, Rodney Strong has that big yard outside.
Yeah,
They have these
beautiful.
amazing concerts during the summer. They also put in, like, a pizza oven a couple years ago, so you can go get pizzas. It's fantastic,
Yeah.
relaxing experience. And then Gunlock Bunshoe, in Sonoma Valley, they have really cool music. I don't know if they're still doing this or not, but they were
Mhm,
bringing in food trucks, and it was just like so relaxed and fun and great.
mhm.
Some of the other uh, experiences, people are looking for those high end. Um, I love the
Yeah.
Six Sigma out in Lake County has this great ATV tour. It's
Oh,
not an
wow.
ATV; it's some kind of crazy thing that I don't remember what it is, but
Yeah.
really great tour up to like this old abandoned mine, which is so fun.
Oh,
And
wow.
then, Hess, has an incredible, although art wasn't a primary focus for
Yeah, I read
many of
that. That's
the
interesting.
shows,
Yeah.
There are a ton of people who go up to Hess just for the wine, but Hess
Mhm.
also has an incredible chef,
Oh, wow.
and they have an incredible wine and food pairing experience that is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Um, so those are some of the things. The blending seminars did not perform well, but
Mhm.
we know wineries always sell those out.
Right.
So, I think too, like the last time my husband and I were up in Napa, we went
Mhm.
to 3 different really high-end wineries,
Mhm.
and we essentially had the same exact experience at each one, and
Wow.
I was really frustrated and annoyed because I felt that I was like, "This is a waste of my time. I need to go.
Ah.
Stuff needs to move faster."
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was just kinda boring, and
Yeah.
I think that's the peril that wineries
Mhm.
face, is that they've been doing things the same way for so long,
Right.
and it's hard to change, it's
Sure.
really, really hard, and kinda the larger the winery, the more challenging it is because you have more staff to train,
Right.
and it is I think it will be the death of wineries if they are unable to differentiate themselves
Mm.
with their experience.
Wow. Yeah. I just, I keep thinking about, my wife and I also have a couple of Airbnbs, and, we're always, and she is adamant, that you got to figure the experience out, whether it's simply, providing access to, local chefs that you want to hire and bring them in the house. And I mean, I think maybe it's because we all work so hard and we're on the go so much, maybe even more so than ever, that this downtime is not just about standing around and sipping wine. It's about show me this, especially with wineries, take me on that tour that you mentioned. And those tours are awesome. I love those tours. Benzinger, I remember, did or still does, I assume, a tour where they take you and they talk about sustainability and, really keeping that. And you learn something. You leave there smarter. You had a great
Right.
experience, and you sip some wonderful, wonderful wine at the same time. So that's an interesting comment, and I think that it's a wake up call to wineries that they've got to get that experience down, and it's time to shift if they haven't already. We're not looking for standing around anymore. We're looking for wow, right? Wow,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, all right. So how does the actual product play into the consumer's tasting room decision? Just, the wine itself. What is that? Is there a decision there if they have never tried it, or maybe they've heard from people about it? How does that play in?
So, the first thing that people choose is the area that they're going to visit.
Okay.
And then after that, product then plays a really small, appears to play a very small role.
Hmm.
However, I think my hunch, and this was not in the survey, but my hunch is that because, Napa is known for its big cabs.
Hmm.
Sonoma has some, Carneros has great Chardonnays.
Hmm.
Um, Paso, is known for different types of varietals.
Hmm.
I think for an educated wine consumer, they already know instinctively where each of those, which varietals are going to be in each of those areas.
Right.
Um, so varietals did not play that big of a role, at
Interesting.
least in how we asked the questions.
Mm, interesting. Very interesting. Well, and then what about, we talked at the top of the podcast about tasting room. There was no charge back in the day, right? They used to be free. And I remember even getting to Sonoma, early days in Sonoma, there were still a few who were not charging. That's obviously since gone out the door. How does the tasting room fee play into it? And do wineries post that information, or do they make it readily available, or is it really just kind of mentioned to you when you get there?
So, most wineries have some kind, right now too, because everybody is moving back toward that
Hmm.
reservation
Right.
model. Many wineries post that on their site.
Hmm.
Price in our survey was not a big consideration factor,
Hmm.
but one of the things that did come up was lack of information can give a
Mm,
winery the veto vote.
interesting.
So I think my gut on it is that price does play a role. We know it plays a role, right?
Sure.
You're either you want to spend $20 or you want to spend
Right.
$150.
Right. Right.
Um, and so I think it does play a role. It But we don't really know how much. I think it's more in the lack of pricing.
Mm,
So when you're asking consumers, so they're on your site and they're looking at, you've got 3 or 4 tasting experiences.
mhm.
How are they gonna make up their mind?
Right.
You have
Right.
some indicators.
Mhm.
Price is one of them. Length of experience is another one.
Sure. Yeah.
The wines that are being served are certainly important.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, it has to be in there, you
Yeah.
know? And don't make people dig for information. It's so
Right.
annoying. One
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
biggest pet peeves is not being able to, like, a lot of times people will be in market as well, and they're on their
Mhm.
mobile device. They don't have a pen and paper. They're
Right.
driving around. Hopefully, they're not on their mobile device. I'm driving.
Yeah.
But, they wanna just be able to hit click to call, or they just need one-click
Right.
directions,
Yeah.
so that they can get the information.
Yeah, we have no patience for for digging around. We none of us do. I mean, I want to know right away, and then I'll do my math. Right, I'll compare. All right, well, this is
Yeah,
this much. That one's this much. Love the experience. Love the look of this tasting room. Look at all the people in this tasting room. They're having such an amazing time. I want to be one of those people in there.
yeah,
So that leads me to the public versus private tasting, and I've done both. Had a very good time at a private, but it was private in the sense that there were at least 20 of us there. We won an auction, so we could go and have a good time. But public has its, public is also fun too. A lot of people. What's in your report? What did you learn about public versus private tastings or appointment only?
so people, if you think about why consumers are going out to wine country,
Hmm.
it's that they want to have these unstructured experiences.
Right.
And so I think it was almost like 7 out of 10 people preferred having a no reservation, just kinda roll up to the bar and have their wine tasting experience.
Okay.
Now there is a subset of folks who, and it was mostly the people who, I think were visiting more frequently
Hmm.
and drinking more frequently.
Oh, okay.
We love those people. And they wanted to have those more elevated experiences.
Okay. All right.
So, think about, I think what wineries need to do is think about how can they best serve their customer? What
Right.
is that customer really trying to achieve when
Hmm.
they're going wine tasting? And
Yeah.
think about not just from your own point of view, but what are they trying to achieve and how can we
Hmm.
best, serve them? They want to
Okay.
relax, they want to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so, this all leads to they found, they looked online, social started maybe the whole process for them. They looked at the website, they got the right, feel from the website. They then maybe checked out a couple of reviews and they made their decision. But once they're there, once they're actually in the winery, whether it's a more traditional tasting room or it's an experience, What should the winery be doing to make sure? I mean, wineries are looking for lifelong customers, right? That is what they're doing. What's that? What are some steps, to deliver? I mean, they should be delivering on the experience that they sold them, right? On this concept, this visual. And then how do they build these long-lasting relationships with them? What can they do and ultimately get them into club?
So there are a couple things. When you go to a really nice hotel like the Four
Hmm.
Seasons or something, they
Hmm.
greet you by name.
Yes.
So if there is a possibility to kind of increase that service level,
Hmm.
certainly do that. You know, say hello, hand them
Hmm.
a glass of sparkling, whatever it is to make them feel welcome. And
Right.
then let's get down to business, right? Which
Right.
is for the winery, capture their data. So, and you need to capture everybody's data at the table,
Hmm.
and in order to do that, you probably need to incentivize them with something compelling enough that they feel comfortable
Hmm.
giving up their email address to you.
Right. Right.
What's that going to be? I would, I think particularly in this environment, I would push that incentive as hard as possible
Mm.
so that you are capturing as much data as possible. What do
Yeah.
you guys do? Because you're the
Yeah.
email experts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly that. I mean, that tasting room experience is so important. It is one touch point, right, in the process of capturing email, as well as, SMS as it becomes more, relevant to wineries. But, we educate on, train and talk about, there's a fear sometimes of asking, right, for that email address. And in the case, the way you're talking about it is a lot of the way we look at it. You don't have to necessarily ask straight out. You can incentivize, you can draw a connection. Maybe they're sipping Pinot and you will have something to tell them, hey, by the way, we have, our next, the next year's is coming out soon. Um, you know, be the first to, get access to it. It's going to be ready. Maybe you can come back to the winery and get a special tasting in there. Why don't you put your email address in here, or why don't you, give us your SMS number to correlate, give them what they want. They're there for they're there for the wine, they're there for the experience, give them some relationship. But we do spend quite a bit of time talking to wineries, making sure that they're capturing at the tasting room, because we need as many emails as possible in the system, right? Not just the website. It can't be the only place where we do the capturing. Um, but yeah, that's how you're going to build those lifelong relationships. And, immediately after capture, a welcome flow goes out and, starts to, educate them more on the history of the winery. I mean, heritage and generational information, I still think is important. Yes, we want them to buy, but we need to nurture customers, right? We need to show them that we care ultimately. So, yeah, this is interesting. I mean, I love this. This was a phenomenal survey, and if time permits, and you can update this from time to time, I think it's a very valuable piece of information. There are obviously some other of these bigger reports talk about this. It's such a small, scope. This is all in dedicated to this channel, and we look at it as as it is a channel to wineries, and they need to perfect it, especially as we see numbers drop. Right? We gotta show them how to get there, and once the consumer is there, let's bring them into the family. Let's connect with them and grow that relationship. So I love it. Fantastic. Well, we talked about all these deep topics here. Uh, let's lighten it up if you're good with it, and do a little what we call rapid fire questions at the
Oh
at the end.
God.
If you're good with
Okay.
that, yeah. Unless there's something else you want to add about the report that maybe we didn't draw upon, I just kind of leave the floor open there for you as well.
No, I think we covered a lot of it.
Great.
I have a PDF if anybody wants it.
Okay.
I'm happy. I let's see. I don't think I have it up on my site or anything,
Okay.
but I'll get it up on the angelsmith.net site,
Okay.
and they can just go in and download it.
Okay, perfect. That's great. And we'll make sure at the end we have a QR code where they can scan and just jump over there and sign up or reach out to you directly there. Because if you're a winery, you want to read this report. You absolutely want to read it. I'm telling you, there's data in here that's going to help you. And that's a good size that you surveyed. It's a very good size. And they seem to be the buyer persona. It's the right buyer persona at the end of the day. So tell me, Karen, what gets you excited to wake up and tackle the day? You're an entrepreneur. What gets you excited?
I really love working with founders
Hmm.
and their teams and helping to provide that clarity. I've worked with a lot of, over the years, I've worked with a lot of Fortune 500 companies and really
Hmm.
big brands. And it's just not as exciting as being able to know that you are helping them, you know,
Yeah.
and it's not about the business, it's about what it means to their life, right?
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
putting their kids into private school or, an amazing college or having their
Right. Right.
ideal dream wedding or, whatever it is. And making sure, a lot of people who have businesses,
Hmm.
we as entrepreneurs, we love to take care of our people too.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's, the same for all those other business owners out there. They are very proud if they can help their staffers buy houses or,
Hmm.
whatever it is for them. And I love being part of that process.
That's well said. I love that. Love that a lot. That's how we should look. You know, as running our own businesses, helping. How do we help? The fact that gets you excited every morning is great. But do you need a drink in the morning of some kind? What's your drink of choice in the morning?
I do 1 cup of coffee. This is
Yeah.
actually my second today
Oh,
because
okay.
it's really cold here. And then I usually do tea through the day
Nice. Okay.
if it's
All right.
cold, and then just plain old water. What's your drink of choice?
I do first black coffee, 7.5 ounces of black coffee.
Exactly
I only
7
know that because the machine says it's pouring that.
Okay.
And then I move on to I put some soy milk into frother. And then I have my
Okay.
second cup of coffee, same thing, 7.5 with some soy milk on top of it and a little cinnamon these days. I'm dropping a little cinnamon on top of there for a little of that, a little extra for an experience, right? Because I need the coffee to be interesting in the morning.
Have you tried turmeric?
I have. I've actually done both at the same time.
Yeah,
They don't work. It's funny. They don't work well together. I've done it separate. They're much better
yeah.
separately. Yes. I call that my because I took this term from another gentleman who came on the podcast. He called it his bougie coffee. That's his bougie coffee. So I have the straight up normal coffee, then the bougie coffee.
I love it.
Uh, we've talked about wine today. Do you have a favorite? Maybe a favorite brand, maybe a favorite varietal? What's your go-to?
Well, I can't have a favorite brand, right? 'Cause I
Right.
don't wanna leave
I
anybody
knew you were gonna say that.
I am loving the Oregon Pinot Noirs,
Oh, yes, yes.
and, I was just up there for the Oregon Wine
Hmm.
Symposium, and
Yeah.
I got to drink, which was so fun.
Yeah.
And then, there's nothing wrong with a Napa Cab, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm gonna go up to at the end of March. I'm going up to Paso Robles
Oh,
for another conference. I'm gonna check that
nice.
out.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about all the really interesting varietals that they're creating up in the Finger Lakes in New York.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, we spoke to a winery up there, and I was very intrigued by what they're doing up there. It's a tight knit group, up there, and very very fascinating. And it always reminds me that wine is everywhere, for the most part. It's not
All
just
50
in.
states have
Yes, I know.
wine.
It's
Isn't
it,
that
it's
insane?
truly amazing. I mean, yes, California dominates, but here in Austin, Texas, this is a growing area for wine. I mean, it's I don't think it's exploded yet. I think it's on the verge, and obviously we know Oregon, but yeah, the Finger Lakes area, very, very intriguing. So tell me, besides the job you're doing today, if you weren't doing it, what else would you be doing?
Sitting on a beach with a fruity cocktail? I don't know.
That's
No,
not a
I
job, Karen. That's not a
well, it's a
job. That's not.
job.
But I
Well,
like it. I'm
influencers do
in.
that, right?
Huh?
I could be like a really skinny influencer
You're ready?
and
There you go.
maybe 40
That
years younger. I'll be
that's all they do, right? Those yes, and yes, I bet that's all they do. They make a lot of money just doing that.
yeah.
So why not? I love it. Let's go. That's a great job. Let's check that box. I love it. I love it.
I
So
yeah.
you love your mobile phone, I assume, like we all do. Is there an app on your phone that you just can't live without? You've got to have that app. Is you check it many times a day?
So an app that I check many times a day. The one app that I love is Calm. It
I love Calm. I love
yeah,
it.
it has, like wisdom during the day.
Mhm.
There is LeBron James. Have you heard
Yes,
his?
I've listened. Yes,
Yeah,
very good. That's a great one. Matthew
I
McConaughey is
listen to
on
that.
here, on there.
Yeah, over and over again. I love him.
Yeah.
And then the night, the sleep stories are
Yes.
incredible. I love
Yes.
those.
Oh, wow.
Um,
What a great app. Nobody's brought that to the table. It's always usually a business app. That's great.
Man, there's plenty of those.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, tell me this. If you could give yourself one talent that you currently don't have, what would it be?
Archery.
Ooh, wow.
I
All
want to hit a
right.
bullseye.
Wow. That's an awesome one.
I want to be an
Very
Olympic archer.
Wow. No, that is nobody's even come close to saying that before. That is awesome. Great answer. Great answer. So, as we wrap up with the last question, what's your favorite online store and why?
Oh my god, I shop so much online, I'm afraid. So, I just ordered some really cool jewelry
Mm.
from Awe Inspired.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
have all these little amulets that are goddess amulets. As you can tell, like, Athena is my patron
Nice.
goddess.
Yes.
She's in the background back there as well. So that, and then, probably, I buy a lot of clothes online, so there's, like, Saint and Sophia is a great
Mm.
brand that I love. Amazon, of course, we
Yes.
buy everything from toilet paper to window coverings on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who can't live? No, Amazon comes up a lot. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it either. I love Amazon. It's made, and we learn a lot from Amazon too. As e-commerce, in the e-commerce industry. As I shop, I'm studying. Like, oh, look, they did that, and they did that over
Oh,
here.
yeah, have you checked out, Goldbelly?
I have. Yes, I have. Yeah. In fact, I looked at it because oh, I know one of the places here in Austin uses Goldbelly to ship their brisket uh, nationwide. Yes, and you can get a lot of pastrami on Goldbelly too from out in New York.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's a
and
great
didn't
one.
were you the one that was telling me about the bagels?
I wasn't, but I know that you can get like from the New York many of them, the famous ones. You can get their bagels. It's a great concept. It's a
Oh, I
great
love
yeah.
that. I send gifts from that, from
Yeah.
Goldbelly everywhere. It's so good. I love it. So fun.
That's fantastic. Well, Karen, this has been awesome. I mean, I love coming out of these podcasts smarter than I came in. Okay, and I did on this one. I really, really did. The report and the survey is exceptional. I encourage every winery to reach out to you and find out more about it. You're going to really learn a lot about your business and start looking at your tasting room differently. What can I do different? In here, this is what the customer is telling us what they want, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
wonderful. So thank you very much for coming on the e-commerce revolution podcast. I'm so happy that you asked if that seat was available and sat next to me, and we struck up a conversation, and we look forward to working with you and staying in touch with you throughout this wonderful journey, and maybe sipping a glass of wine at some point in Sonoma, Napa, or wherever we may, or here maybe in Austin. If you come to Austin, we'll go find one of the fancy wineries and sit down and enjoy it. So thank you so much for coming on. Maybe just take a moment and just remind people again where they can find out about you, your agency, and potentially even getting access to that report.
I don't yeah, go to angelsmith.net. It's,
Okay.
ANGELSMITH.net. I
Okay.
don't have the report on there right
Right.
now, but we'll put a banner on the front page and get that up so you can just download it.
Perfect. All right. And we did put a QR code up on the screen, so you can go ahead and grab it, grab your phone out, and take yourself right to their site and reach out. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for coming on again. And we will see you in the agency world. All right.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Yes.
me.
Of course, of course. All right, that brings us to the end of another amazing episode of the e-commerce revolution podcast. Again, I love walking into these and learning more. This is my chance to, I guess, geek out in many ways on all these great elements that are around us, especially, as we take this journey into the winery world. Don't forget to check out past episodes. They're all available on YouTube. This episode will be available on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. The replay will be available shortly after, and then all the audio versions will be up soon. Thank you very much. If anybody needs any help with their email marketing needs, please reach out to us at skuagency.com/wine, or you see the QR code up on the screen where you can actually download a free copy of the 3 must-have email flows for your winery, or book a call to chat with us and talk about your email marketing needs. I thank you all dearly. Appreciate you being here today. Thank you, and